Hey, what's up guys? It's Hayden.
Hey, and I'm Emma. Welcome back to our channel. Yes, I know we went on another hiatus. It was totally unplanned and we are sorry, but we are back because we have to discuss a little horror film that's been doing the rounds for about a month now. It's been over in the US, getting a lot of hype.
Getting a bit of a reputation for itself.
And it's finally in Australia. And, you know, when I saw the headlines for this film, and it was vomit-inducing.
People fainting in the aisles.
People fainting. I'm like, oh my God, are we still doing that? Seriously?
Whenever we hear headlines like that, we always call bullshit straight away. So it's like, come on, please. Amateurs.
I know, I'm like, I feel like, I don't know, this could just be us, but let us know if this is for you too. I feel like we're just getting really desensitized to the kind of horror that's coming out now, the kind of gore and special effects that we're seeing in horror
Takes
films.
a lot to get under our skin.
Yeah. So I was a bit, rolled my eyes at the headlines. But then, when I found out that it was the sequel to Terrifier, Terrifier 2, I was like, okay, look, maybe.
If any film can do it, maybe it's Terrifier 2.
Because that original was pretty gory. I do remember that. I mean, we saw it back in 2016 when it came out. And I haven't seen it since, but I do remember enjoying it, and I do remember it was very, very gory. So look, maybe the headline's all right, but if you want to hear our thoughts, then stick around.
Yeah, so Terrifier 2 follows Art the Clown, who is brought back to terrorize a teenage girl and her younger brother and go on a murderous rampage. So the reputation that preceded this movie was right on the money. This movie is fucked up. It is bloody, it is gory, it pushes the boundaries of what should be acceptable in a movie.
Yeah, look, I saw an article refer to this film as a splatter slasher, which I hadn't heard that kind of terminology for a horror before. I mean, you know, we're familiar with slashers, but a splatter slasher, and I was like, interesting. But after seeing the movie, I think it's quite a fitting...
Very fitting.
fitting title for it.
Has Terrifier 2 now kind of defined its own genre, do you think? Because we've had slasher films in the past, right? You had like your 70s, 80s slashers like, you know, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Nightmare on Elm Street, Friday the 13th. You had Scream and Ghostface in the 90s. And they were violent and bloody and had a little bit of gore here and there, but they always showed a little bit of restraint.
Yeah. Whereas
this film doesn't at all. And I feel like it almost ventures into torture porn territory, you know, similar to movies like Saw and Hostel. Which I think is where the splatter slasher title is actually quite fitting and might actually now be a kind of like its own little subgenre.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of rides that fine line of torture porn slasher, doesn't it? And I think the only reason that Terrifier and Terrifier 2 in particular is getting away with the sheer amount of gore that's in this movie is because it's got that spin of humor in it. You know, Art the Clown, he's quite funny.
There's a couple of like laugh out loud moments that kind of took us by surprise a little bit.
I mean, I actually leant over to you and actually remember saying, was he always this funny?
I think they did up the humor a little bit in Terrifier 2.
I feel like they did.
Because I don't remember laughing at all in the first one. But the second one definitely had me laughing a couple of times. And I think it's like that, it has fun with what it's doing.
Yeah.
Right? Whereas a film like Human Centipede 2 is just plain nasty and makes you want to have a shower. This, you know, similar levels of kind of depravity and blood and gore, but I feel like this movie just has that humor, has a little bit more fun with what it's doing. And so you kind of enjoy it that little bit more, despite how far they're kind of pushing it.
And Art is an interesting character because he doesn't say anything.
No, he's like a mime. He's a mime clown.
Yeah, he's a mime.
And I kind of like that.
Yeah.
It makes for a really interesting character.
It's a very clever choice. And, you know, that partnered with his really creepy look. I love the makeup. They really nailed the look of this clown now. He looks like not someone you want to cross in a dark alley.
No. So I think we need to talk about Art the Clown a little bit more. And I want to link this to a point that I wanted to make with this video, which is, why is this film so successful? So for context, this movie had a $250,000 budget, which was mostly crowdfunded.
And just quickly, not really that much money when it comes to
No.
movies. Like that is pennies when it comes to filmmaking.
That's a shoestring budget right there. Okay, not a lot of money at all. It has now made over $10 million at the box office. That is ridiculous.
That is massive.
That is massive. But why? Why is it so successful? Why is it making so much money? Well, I think it's because of Art the Clown. I think he is this generation's Leatherface, Ghostface, Freddy Krueger, Jason Voorhees. He is this generation's iconic slasher villain.
Now, do you think so? You're thinking he could become that kind of infamous that, like in years to come, when we look back, you know, we're going to start putting him on this pedestal next to these characters.
Potentially.
Or do you think he's going to be more of a cult? He'll have like a cult following.
At the moment, I think he's more at like the high cult level. Okay? I think with maybe another movie or two, if they keep improving on this formula, he could definitely kind of hit the level of those iconic slasher villains. You know, those guys, Leatherface, all those boys, they're at like tier 1.
They're like mainstream.
Art is probably like tier 2.
Yeah.
Right? But he's coming up quick, right? He's got the look. He's got the mannerisms, you know, that whole mime thing he does, you know, those little quirks that make a character, you know, unique and iconic, right? He's got the kills. Like, look at his rap sheet, right? He's got the kills.
And he's got an interesting way of doing it.
Yes. So, look, I think he's not quite there yet, but he could very well be this generation's iconic slasher villain, all right? So I think that is reason number 1 why this movie is so successful, right? You got to have a good villain.
Yeah.
Now, the second reason I think this film is successful is the reputation that it has been building over the last month, right? And the fact that the media has just been circulating these stories, you know, vomit-inducing, people passing out. That makes me, as a horror fan, want to go see this movie.
Yeah.
And we felt like we didn't have a choice. There was no option as to whether we wanted to see it or not. It's like, it got to a point where like, we have to see this movie.
Well, because honestly, as much as we did like the first Terrifier, I honestly don't think we would have seen it now. Like, I don't think we would have seen it as soon as we have if it wasn't for these headlines. Because, you know, they do eventually get on your skin. It's like, you get FOMO.
Yeah,
like
exactly. That's exactly what it is.
Like, we're missing out. We need to see what all this buzz is about.
So it built that reputation. The media was just putting it out there. And not only that, but it lived up to its reputation as well. It's not like people were coming out of the cinemas going, oh, that was a letdown.
Yeah.
No, people were coming out and saying, damn, that lived up to the reputation, right?
Because I feel like we are big horror fans, and I feel like we have gone and seen films which have had these, oh my God, people are fainting moments, and we're like, why? Like, you come out and it's like
a letdown, right?
It's like, are you all flowers? Seriously.
No, this movie lived up to it, right?
It did.
So I think, Art the Clown and the reputation, I think those are two of the big reasons why this film was so successful. But we can't forget the creative minds behind this movie, right? So you got Damien Leone, who I think has really upped his game as a filmmaker. This feels like a much more polished version than the first Terrifier. The first Terrifier felt very B-movie, right? Very kind of low budget. This movie, I think, makes the most of its $250,000 budget.
Hell yeah. Yeah.
And it's a long movie too. Like, it's a long movie. It's very long for a slasher movie. But yeah, it doesn't feel low budget. It feels like a lot of love and care is being put into this.
Visually, it looks great.
Yeah.
They've got
the practical effects are fantastic. Just
fantastic team in the makeup department. They just blew me away. It was like, if you're new to the channel, I am a makeup artist, and I love to do special effects makeup in particular. And this is just some of the craziest stuff I've seen. I would love to be doing this kind of special effects. Just props to that team, seriously.
Yeah. And the whole aesthetic, it's got like a real kind of 80s aesthetic to it.
Yes.
The score, the music, even the kind of how it's shot and the lighting that it uses.
Yeah.
So yeah, Damien Leone has definitely upped his game. He's definitely becoming a very good horror filmmaker, and can't wait to see what he does next. But David Howard Thornton as Art the Clown, I think, deserves some props too.
Oh, of course.
Now, when we talk about like the creative team behind a film, I feel like a lot of people overlook the actors as creatives in the filmmaking process, but they very much are, right? They need to kind of dive into this character and kind of become this character. And they, along with the director, will develop the attributes of the character. It's not just all the director, right? The actor has a lot of say in this as well. And I think he does a fantastic job as Art the Clown. Again, like the mannerisms that he has, just like that creepy smile that he does, the way he moves, everything about Art the Clown is just so creepy, so good. And I think David Howard Thorne deserves a lot of recognition for his portrayal.
Yeah, he nailed it. Look, the only real criticism I could give this movie is the acting was a little cringe at times. Not from Art, but from some of the other cast members. And look, I don't know if it was maybe the dialogue that was written for them or if it was just the delivery. But that was the only letdown for me, that some of the acting was a little hit and miss. But overall, the cast were great. And we had some really cool locations, actually.
Yeah.
They go into a really scary carnival, and I would actually love to see like a horror maze come out
Yes.
from this carnival, because that looked so scary.
Movie old Fright Nights.
Yes. Just any Fright Night, come October needs to be doing some kind of Terrifier maze, I think. And yeah, obviously makeup, as I said, absolute. The gore, I know what they were talking about now. There are some of the most shocking kill scenes I think I've seen, and we've seen a lot of horror movies now. But yeah, do you think they've taken it too far?
I think they went just far enough. Because if this movie isn't as bloody and gory and brutal as it is, are people gonna want to go see it? I know that's fucked up. We're fucked up. People are fucked up. But, it's not going to have that reputation behind it. It's just going to be another slasher film that's just going to get lost in the, on the streaming services. No one's going to go see it, right? I think this film needed to push the boundaries.
Well, yeah, I guess it wouldn't be getting the accolades that it is if it didn't. But it does make me wonder where horror films are going to go from now. Like, because, Saw and Hostel, they did push the boundaries too. But I don't know, I feel like Terrifier 2 brought some new elements of killing people that we hadn't seen before. And I'm like, when is it going to get too far, Like...
I don't think they're far off. They're not far off. I don't think you can go much further than this without going into like Human Centipede 2 territory, where it's just fucked up for the sake of being fucked up, and it's just kind of like sick and disgusting and nasty.
Yeah, and it's not entertaining.
It's not entertaining, yeah. So, yeah, I don't know if you can actually go much further than this without going into that territory where if you think of like a horror tier list, right? It's like you've got your PG-13 slashers up here, you've got like your more violent stuff here, your torture porn, and Terrifier 2 is probably in that, and then like right down below it you've got like your Human Centipede 2s, Serbian films, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Where those movies again have a reputation as well, but I don't think they're as enjoyable. They're not a movie that you can throw on with some popcorn and have fun with your friends, right? It's a kind of like a movie you challenge yourself to watch.
Yeah.
So I think as far as like mainstream horror films go, I don't think you get much worse than this. Much worse than Terrifier.
I feel like they have really pushed the boundaries with this movie. But I'm glad they did. It was really exciting to see new thrills and kills, and as messed up as it was, I feel sick saying this, but it was fun.
Yeah.
Like it's weirdly fun to watch this, and I feel like this is a horror movie, as gory as it is, that I want to go back and watch again.
Yeah.
And I think it is a lot to do with the fact that we do have kind of a funny character, even though he's doing these horrible things. But look, I do have to mention that we briefly touched on it before, but the score in this movie as well, the soundtrack to this movie is so badass. Like, we love that 80s flavor. We love the synth wave that is through it. I think that also really added to the whole aesthetic of this movie. It was just like little extra cherries on top that it just sweetened the deal for us. So there wasn't too much that we could fault with this. I think it's fair to say we really enjoyed Terrifier 2, and if you could stomach it, you should go and watch it.
Yeah, not for the faint of heart, but if you're a horror fan, I definitely recommend it.
Yeah.
So look, with that out of the way, I think we wrap this one up, guys. So make sure you leave your comments down below. Have you seen it? What did you think? Did you throw up? Did you faint? Does it live up to the reputation? Let us know. And make sure you do all that YouTube stuff as well. Slam that like button if you like what we do. Hit the bell for the notifications to be notified of what we got coming up next. Subscribe to our channel and become part of the Headspace Films community. Most importantly of all, thank you guys so much for watching, and we'll catch you guys in the next one. Bye.
See you later.